In a poll in 2024 found that 73% of Indonesians said that if they were forced to choose between China and America, 3/4 of Indonesians said they would choose China. Poll in 2004 overall, the majority of people in ASEAN preferred China to America, especially Malaysia, where 7% of people preferred China. In Laos, 71% of people preferred China, and in Thailand 52% of people preferred China. Singapore, Vietnam, and the Philippines, the population leaned more towards America, especially the Philippines, where the Philippines was actually previously an American colony from 1898 to 1946, and until now the political elite in the Philippines is very pro-American, including the current President Bongbong Marcos Jr., who is the son of the old American-backed military dictator Ferdinand Marcos Sr. ruled the Philippines with an iron fist with American support during the Cold War as part of Washington's strategy in the new Cold War launched by America. Indonesia has been far from America and is more inclined towards China. In 2023 there was a political scandal in Indonesia when America published a press release claiming that they had an alliance with Indonesia, where then the Indonesian government denied it. Prabowo, who is now the new president of Indonesia, where when he was Minister of Defense he denied the press release published by America, and he said it was wrong. Then to clarify, America published a statement which was claimed to be wrong for Indonesia because it criticized America. America tried to divide by building an Indonesian alliance that wanted to be non-aligned. Quote, Pak Prabowo explained very clearly that Indonesia is not an ally. Indonesia and America do have good relations, but they don't want to, or Indonesia doesn't want to be America's enemy but not an ally, just a friend. The coup and massacre supported by America has indeed traumatized Indonesia, with America now. Indonesia becomes a full member of BRICS, which will deepen Indonesia's integration with other countries in the southern hemisphere. For Indonesia, China is by far Indonesia's largest trading partner. In 202 to 22.6 of Indonesia's exports go to China, and 28.5 of Indonesia's imports come from China. Indonesia also plays a very important role in the global economy because it is by far the largest nickel producer in the world. No country comes close to producing as much nickel as Indonesia, and by the way, half of the world's top 10 nickel producers are now in BRICS. The Indonesian government was very clever in banning mineral exports raw because they want to get more value added in the process to help grow the economy. This angered Western countries and American-dominated financial institutions such as MF and World Trade Organizations, and they criticized Indonesia, claiming that it violated the principles of free trade. But Indonesia emphasizes that this is a matter of sovereignty. This is a matter of defending its own economic interests and using its natural resources to benefit its people because of the American Endowment for International Peace, which is the American think tank which is funded by the American government, which is very anti-China. They published an interesting paper entitled How Indonesia Uses Chinese Industrial Investment to Convert Nickel into New Gold. There is also another study published in 2024 by the aggressive Australian think tank Australian Institute of International Affairs, which is very anti-China as well, and funded by the Australian government, especially the Australian Ministry of Defence. This paper is entitled Indonesian Nickel Supremacy. China's support for Australia's decline shows how Indonesia's nickel industrial policy is effective in suppressing Western countries and is very capable of lifting people out of poverty. In future, the Indonesian government wants to improve its downstream industrial policy in processing important minerals, where investment by China has existed since 2014. It will probably be increased again. Due to China's influence, Indonesia made regulations that benefited China and harmed Western allies, with a strategy to increase the added value of nickel within Indonesia. The chain of troops started by banning Indonesian nickel exports because China had built its factory in Indonesia. This caused the European Union to officially complain to the WTO, and Indonesia argued that this was a case of protecting its national economic interests and global trade rules that were unfairly detrimental to developing countries. Indonesia called it a form of economic imperialism by the West. This is the right quote. Economic imperialism when the IMF is dominated by America, where America is the only country that has veto rights in IMF. IMF demands that Jakarta lift its export ban. That is why Indonesia calls this economic imperialism by the West, while the West accuses China of benefiting by playing officials at the top, not for the interests of the Indonesian people. On the Western side, it is true that Indonesia's raw materials are indeed being helped by China. China not only invests but also provides concession fees that get raw nickel domestically. Indonesia is below the world market value, so the financing is financed by China and the companies belong to China, and all of that. China is the one benefiting from Indonesia. In the APBN notes that there is no profit from the nickel. Western Europeans are right about this, and that is sins of the past government for how to ask for enlightenment. Music piece 4.